All right. Good evening, people joining later or watching later. This is the monthly Purple group meeting where we usually pick a book a month and read it and discuss. This month we watched a movie. It is Princess Mononoke. It is a Studio Ghibli film directed by Hayao Miyazaki. It's a pretty famous film, directed, I believe, in the '97, I think is when it came out. And as a Purple group who talks about creation care or just ecology and Earth, it's a somewhat fitting movie about that sort of thing. So without further ado, we'll start talking. We have Susan Paul's in here. I am Matthew Johnston, and go ahead and get started. I'm trying to think of how to start it. His films are very much what's the word I'm looking for? Metaphorical, but not like it's almost like once you start pinpointing, oh, this is what this means, something else kind of comes up that kind of challenges that. So it's not this black and white, this equals this is the good guy, this is the bad guy. So it's always kind of difficult for me to talk about that without kind of ruining the ending, because you kind of have to see the whole big picture of the film.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think we'll the general premise is Prince Ashitaka is one of the main characters, and he's fighting this boar demon, and in the midst of that gets contaminated by the demon. So his arm, has this scar or
Like a
there's like kind of a tattoo
like
mark on it,
worm kind of looking thing from the board.
And the village kind of banishes him, saying you can't be here anymore. This is gonna eventually consume you, and you're gonna die. And there could be, a saving grace, out west, right? It's very much like this hero's journey type backstory of him having to, banished and leave. So he leaves, finds a monk who joins him. And he's kind of an interesting character because he starts out kind of jovial and he follows along, and then he does kind of become corrupted, and you wonder if he was always corrupted or how that works.
Was he the one who, when the lady was selling the rice, he came in and he was like, "Don't you know what the gold nugget is?"
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
that's where I remember first seeing him.
Yeah, so there's a scene. So he has gold, and he goes to this village, and he's wanting to buy rice, and he says, "I have this piece of gold," and they don't accept it. And then the monk says, "Don't you know what this is? I will pay you in your currency, enough for all this, for that piece of gold. Like, I'll buy that piece of gold back from you." So you do know that he is kind of a trickster, not trickster, but just more intelligent, or
right. Maybe he knows a little more than what, or
worldly. Let's see if I remember. So he moves on, and then I think he finds San or Moro. Moro is the other kind of wolf god, and I think that's another kind of key in the story.
He's the wolf mother.
The wolf mother, right? Is one of the gods, and you find out that the god, this boar god that attacked Ashitaka, was also a god who was possessed or plagued by a demon. So there are these gods that are there to protect the forests. And so there's Moro, which is a white wolf god who adopts San as an infant. San is a human. But as she was raised by wolves, she detests humans, and she kind of very much distances herself and spites them. Another god was Akato. He was a blind. I want to say he was also a boar. He was a white, like an albino.
Right, he's the one after Nago, the first boar dies. He's like the big leader of all the
Right.
boars, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, Nago is the
Yeah.
boar that Ashitaka
dies.
kills at the beginning, and finds a piece of iron in it, right? So,
Oh, right, yeah.
and so there's this idea of iron as a metaphor for weaponry or for kind of industrialization, plaguing, right, the boar, right, and causing a demon. Kind of has this. It's a very
right, because the nugget of iron is what's inside the boar,
right.
that caused it to become that way.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. And so I think, that it's a symbolism, right, of this, like this kind of a opposition of industrialization and creation and saving the earth. And so they find out that this nugget came from this city, Irontown, which is a town of people who are kind of misfits, outcasts, a lot of lepers, and the leader of that is Lady Eboshi, and so it's another one of those strange, complex characters, because she does have this very capitalistic or conqueristic idea that she's building weapons and kind of destroying the earth, right? They're having to clear the forests in order to get the iron, right? And so there's this conflict between the gods and the animals, right, versus the people, and there's a constant war. But yet she's also taking in people that other people don't accept, and so it's like it's one of those things again that Studio Ghibli, I think, carry on through all their films, is that there is no, like, each villain or antagonist does have redeeming qualities, and each hero is kind of an anti-hero or does have very much a shadow side.
Some good parts too.
Um,
Right, and yes, because she took the lepers in who are helping build the weaponry, but she also took the brothel women in, like the whole group of women
yeah.
from the brothel, who are the ones who work the bellows to
Right.
smelt the iron,
Uh-huh.
right? Yeah. Were there more groups in that, or just those two?
I
There
would say
was-
there was another group. Let me.
The riflemen belonged to.
Yeah, and then there was the group of samurai.
Right, yeah, I never figured out where they fit in.
Yeah. It just says outcasts and lepers. So before he finds the town, I think he does run into Moro and San, and he tries to be peacemaking and, hey, like, I'm trying to figure this out. There's definitely wrong being done. I'm on your side, and of course, as someone who's been persecuted by humans, they very much ignore him until I think he saves two of the other wolves in some fashion. And they start to kind of warm up to it. And San then he runs into the town, finds the town, and that's where he finds out that it was Lady Abashi who shot the boar and found out, or that caused the whole mess.
That's how the iron got into the boar to begin with. Yeah.
And then San attacks it, right? And so and she gets wounded in the fight, and as
San attacks Lady
Abashi.
Abashi, yeah,
Yeah.
in the town. Oh, right, and then Princess, what is his
Yeah.
name?
Ashitaka.
Ashitaka carries her out. It
Right.
the arm kind of gives him super strength a
Yes,
little bit too,
yeah.
doesn't it?
Right. And it's a very much kind of, can he control it?
Yeah.
Can he not? It's a
Yeah, he
weird-
seems to be battling it in
Right,
a way.
right.
Yeah, keeping it under control.
It kind of reminds me of Venom from the Marvel,
Uh-huh.
anti-Spider-Man thing. And so Ashitaka gets shot, I believe, saving San, and so he's kind of out in the wilderness, covering.
Yeah, like they save each other. He saves her first,
Uh-huh.
and then he gets shot. And then she fights for him to save him from what, who did she save him from? From the wolves, from the wars, I think.
Yeah.
They were saying, give us no, it was from the apes. The apes came into
That's
it.
right. That's right.
Who said, give us the human, we want to eat him.
Right. Right. I forgot about that.
Why they wanted to eat him,
Yeah.
but she didn't let them.
Right.
She saved them from him.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
drags him through the water to the island.
Yes.
Yeah. With the elk ibex kind of
Yeah. And
creature.
right. And that's
you
the great forest spirit
Okay.
is the elk.
Oh, that's the elk.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah, and there's a lot of different kind of, that's what I'm looking for, not sanctions, but different clans or groups of people at play. There's always, yeah, and they all kind of start to come to head at this battle, and the main thing is it was always hard to tell whose side is who, but this monk, I think it's Jigo,
Jigo, right.
and I can't tell if he's with the samurai or if he teams with Abashi.
I think he was with the rifle people, the riflemen.
Yeah, Abashi. So I think
Yeah.
their thing is to get the head of the great forest spirit, and by taking it to the emperor, he can get a blessing of eternal life.
Mhm.
So in order to do that, he hides in the skins and bodies of the boar,
Mhm.
and through that tricks Akado into leading them all to the forest spirit. And then I think this is probably where you
Stopped. Yeah, that
Yeah.
kid very able to be, that's starting to, yeah. I remember him talking about getting the head of the spirit, but then, and seeing them in their costumes, hiding and
Yeah.
watching,
Right.
but I think that's where I stopped, so.
Okay.
So do tell.
So yes, so here's the spoilers. War rages, and again, it's hard to tell, like, what, and I think this is kind of, someone could argue, well, it's not very clear, you're not doing a good job of storytelling, but I think it's actually doing a great job, because it's more or less like not all war has a designated hero and a designated villain, right? And
Right.
so, I mean, and so there's that. I think,
And everyone's motives aren't always clear.
Right,
Either, and that's definitely the case. It's hard to keep track of everybody's motivations. I thought.
so what happens is well, right, in the forest spirit, I believe kills Akado and Moro.
Oh,
they both, and I can't remember if it happened before or after this next event, where they do,
but the lead, the head boar and
and the
and
white,
the head wolf,
right.
right, another wolf.
They, oh yeah, the wolf mother, I think is what they also, she also goes by.
Yeah.
And so it's Jiro, and there's or Jigo, and another character do cut off the head of the Great Spirit, and it turns into, Wikipedia calls it a certain name, the Nightwalker, which is this kind of, it's this very kind of long, lanky. I mean, it's very towering. It becomes big, and almost, this very, almost like, and it almost demon-like, right? Like kind of the antithesis of it, where it was all squiggly and stuff at the very beginning. It was similar to that, but more. Trying to think of other movies that have kind of this similar feel, like the smoke ghost in Lost. I don't know if you saw Lost back in the day,
No,
or Cloverfield, that kind of just these long arms, and it just continues, and
there's a point where in this movie at the beginning it becomes some kind of a night walker.
oh, maybe so,
beforehand,
maybe that is it.
where it kind of looks transparent,
Yes.
starry.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
it. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
so that's what
I
I
missed that part
imagined.
earlier, so,
Okay,
so yeah.
so that was early on.
Oh,
too.
okay,
Yeah.
I missed that part, but yeah, that's what it becomes. And so anything that touches it, this smoke or this cloud, die.
Okay.
And so because they have it in this container, and they're trying to get it away, and San and Ashitaka recapture it, and let it go, and open it up, and give the head back to the Nightwalker. And doing that kills the Nightwalker, which is bizarre, but it like kind of resets everything. Like people don't come back to life, but like again, the Iron Town was getting destroyed, and it disappears and turns to green grass, and everything kind of becomes this like back to where whatever green and lush.
Like the forest becomes healthy again.
Right.
Do the little spirit, I can't remember, what were they called?
Oh, that's
The
right.
little they look like little skeleton ghosts.
Skeleton
kind of
ghosts mixed with adipose from Doctor Who.
thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Kadama, a tree spirit that brings good
Yes,
luck.
yes.
A sign that the forest is healthy.
Yeah.
Their mother is a fine old tree. I wrote that down for some reason.
So
Do they come back then after?
and the
Different
yes,
life?
yeah.
Okay.
I think so. Yeah, I think they were. Well, yeah, one returns. You see one, which kind of is this story of one, like they are coming back.
They're gonna be coming back.
So the kind of end scene is Lady Abashi saying, "Hey, we're gonna rebuild, and we're gonna build it. We're gonna rebuild, Iron City better."
Okay. So they don't completely abandon the idea of Iron City, but they redo it?
They want to rebuild the town. And I
Okay.
don't know if they say Iron City, but they do say, build the town back.
But rebuild
And
it.
in my mind, it does seem redemptive, and it does seem like she learned, like, oh, okay, like what we were doing was hurting the environment.
Uh-huh.
And it didn't seem like she was lying or being manipulative. San, I mean, and so it's weird. So San says, I can't, I love you, I want to be with you with Ashitaka, but says I still can't stand humans. I can't be around them. And so
Right.
she leaves, and Ashitaka stays to help build the city.
Okay.
And it's
Something we haven't mentioned yet. Did I understand correctly that San is Princess Mononoke?
yes,
The
yes. I
title-
think it.
Who is the title character
Right.
of the
I
show?
don't. I think it said it once in the whole
I think, yeah.
film.
Otherwise, they called her San.
San, right?
Yeah,
Or like the orphan or some, it depends
something
on-
like
yeah,
that. Yeah,
right.
Wolf Princess. They called her
Yeah.
several things.
But Mononoke was only mentioned, if at all, once.
Yeah.
Like I don't remember it, but it said it on the Wikipedia page, so I don't know if that's, you assume.
Yeah.
The other thing that's hard about these films is because they're in Japanese, they're all like overdubbed, and so the exclamation or whatever doesn't exactly match, I think, the same emotion or the same vocabulary, right? I mean, at the
Right.
end, this
Right.
moment of like, but I still don't like humans, so I'm gonna leave. Like, it seemed very not, I mean, the dialogue
Right.
isn't very thought out, right? You
Yeah.
can tell that it
It's
was,
a little stilted.
yes, that's
Yeah,
a good word
I
for it.
I noticed that too, that, but now I understand why. I didn't
Right.
realize, I mean, I guess I knew it was kind of anime.
Uh-huh.
Would you say that's what the genre is?
Yeah, maybe,
Ish.
yeah, there's probably people out there that are gonna be hating me, but
Right.
that's,
I don't know. I
that's,
don't know. But yeah, so it was originally in Japanese, then you're saying it was translated to
yeah,
English.
it's a Japanese film.
That explains a
Right.
lot.
Yep.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, well, yeah, so I mean, it's these, yeah, so the not, and you can kind of tell who, like, English speaking people, and these type of,
yeah,
speaking for a Japanese character, it's kind of, but it makes sense.
yeah.
So yeah, so that's the film, in a
So,
nutshell.
Asa, or what is her name again? San. So she ends up at the end still not liking humans, still not identifying with her human side.
Right, well, I think, and I think this is a good, it's a good play on conflict and I don't want to say barriers, what's the word I'm looking for? I can't remember. Anyway,
Yeah.
it'll come to
Okay.
me.
Yeah.
But the idea of how do I set parameters in healthy relationships, that's like, I trust that you can be good, but I'm still not, boundaries, right? Setting up
having
the boundaries
boundaries,
and healthy
yeah.
boundaries of, she's still recovering from all the hurt that humans have done to her, and that she still needs to process that on her own. I think, I think it's because I think that's healthy. I think a lot of times we think, oh, see, we proved that they can be good. Now you can be part of society and you shouldn't have a problem anymore, right? I think we kind of have the same thing going on with
There's still a
with
wound.
racial relations here in America with that. Like, why can't we just get along? Why can't we just forget about it and move on? It's like, well, no, because like you didn't go through that pain. They did. They're still going through that pain.
Right, and generationally,
Right.
still, it's passed down through generations and the wound still exists.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So so there's, it's a good, I think, speaks strongly to that kind of thing.
Right, so the forest was reset then, so all is right with nature, is that?
Yeah,
I
I mean, it does kind of have
that's
this,
a nature theme.
it does kind of have this Noah's Ark type thing, not necessarily that there's an ark that saves a couple people, but yeah, some people do live through it and they learn and build better, but yeah, it is kind of this reset of things, but it's interesting that, like, yeah, some of the, spirit gods die, right? And like, wait, this
Right.
great forest spirit sided with, kills, yeah, it's weird that it kills Moro and Hokkaido? Like, I thought they were kind of all on
They
the
were
same.
on the side of nature, I
Right.
thought.
Yeah.
That is.
Right, so
confusing to
it
me.
does play this idea of, that Mother Nature, or, the great forest spirit or God, right?
Right.
Doesn't have a side, right? There's a larger feeling that they have, right? And that, they don't,
Uh-huh.
they, as the creator of all that, they're not picking one over the other that they're gonna fight for or fight against. So,
Right, right. Well, and if, I don't know, if the great forest spirit was going to wipe out anybody, I would have thought it would be the humans
right,
who were destroying it.
right.
But that's not what you're saying happened. It was
I don't,
the,
yeah,
it was the boar god and the wolf god.
yeah. Wikipedia says, as everyone clashes at the pool of the forest spirit, Ashitaka saves San while the forest spirit kills Moro and Akoto. As it begins to transform into the Nightwalker, Eboshi decapitates it.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, that's true. Akato does start becoming a demon. I forgot about that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Starts turning, okay, well, that would. make
Which
more
would
sense
make
then.
sense, yeah. Yeah, but what about moral? It's, yeah,
Moro,
so
yeah.
I think, yeah, it does play this thing of like, okay, well then what? Why this spirit who looks very benevolent, right? It's this,
Uh-huh.
it's the body of an elk or a deer and the almost a human-like face.
Face, right, yeah.
And then just a huge almost tree
Freaky.
of antlers.
Right, yeah, yeah. Many more antlers. I think that's where I saw it early on, was when it was walking.
Yeah,
The prince saw deer walking ahead of it, and then it came through with the great big rack of, like you said, almost tree-like antlers.
Yep.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know, there was kind of a feminist bent to Lady Eboshi too, a little bit, I guess, in that, she's kind of in charge of the city. And
Yeah.
I mean, this has nothing to do with nature really, but she has employed all of these women, taking them out of the brothel environment, putting them to work
Yeah.
in a place that they felt valued. And yeah, they're using their skills. Oh, and they were making light, I thought it was interesting too, that they were making lighter weight weapons, which would be the lepers, that were building rifles. When the princess first brought in to see what she's up to, she brings them in and says, oh, here's what I'm really doing. And they're building lighter weight rifles, which would be, my understanding of that would be that they're making them so that the women can use them.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
I hadn't thought about that.
right,
Yeah.
because, they're the heavy ones are, the men are still maybe stronger than women, but it makes it gives the women weaponry to equal the power of the men. So further equalizing their power, I guess.
Mhm.
It was different, and a different experience for me watching it, because I think I had some very maybe American expectations of it, you grow up watching things and you kind of have expectations of how things are going to play out or
Yeah,
how they're going to go. And a lot of those things didn't play out. And so some of it didn't make sense to me, but I think if I understood more about the makers of the film, I think I would like to go back and maybe read more
yeah,
about, like, it sounds like you have some insight about that.
yeah.
coming
I've seen
into
a
it.
couple of his films. I mean, they're very, and I don't want to say anti-West, anti-capitalism, but they do have this. I mean, he put out Howl's Moving Castle early 2000s, and it's kind of his response to America going to war in Afghanistan and Iraq. He's very much opposed to that. I mean, he's very pacifistic and anti-war. So that film, Spirited Away, kind of also has this anti-capitalist shtick. So yeah, it's but yeah, I think a lot of it is, how do you watch a movie from another country that has a different just culture in general, that you watch it, you go, this is wrong. Why are we celebrating this when really it's, you're not understanding like what they're talking about, like, actually, like, what are they,
Like where they're coming from.
yeah, right, where are they coming from and what are they talking against and to, and the motives and rationales from there, but
Right, and for that reason, it's probably good to experience that, and stretch my thinking a little bit.
right,
Yeah. Yeah, very interesting.
think of other things that happen. Yeah, so I mean, so a lot of his movies, and when you talk about spirits and that sort of thing in film, it is very, by that nature, nebulous, or not, they're not explaining specifically what things are, right? Everything is very mystical, and he plays that, up into us, and
They kind of leave it ambiguous, maybe.
yeah, I mean, and he doesn't spoon feed you, this is what this is, and that's what that is.
Right.
You kind of have to figure it out yourself, or he leaves it that way because he doesn't have an answer himself, right? And so he leaves it to you because
So
it's not my
he's asking
part.
the question then, right?
I think so.
That's a good take.
It's, people watching this on YouTube, you guys can leave some comments and some hate mail, and maybe, or be nice and maybe post some fan articles explaining correctly
Help
what
us understand this.
we're mis-explaining.
Coming from it, from never having seen any of this.
And I probably should have watched it twice, right?
before.
I think a lot of movies you need to watch twice. Okay, now I got it. Now I know what happens at the end. I can watch it with the whole picture in mind.
Right, and I think it would be interesting to watch it now that also we're having this discussion too, because it brings up things that I probably wouldn't have noticed. To begin with, I did just think of something though that strikes me, and that is how many of the characters ended up with a wound, either fatal or fatal, or that stays with them. Like, well, the boar, of course, was killed.
Right.
San ends up with a wound. And I still can't. I
can't
say his name.
I wrote it down so I can look at it.
The prince ends up with the wound.
Well, Lady Eboshi,
the wolf ends up
gets
with
her.
Moro has a wound. That stays with her. She lives with that bullet in her. Which seems metaphorical somehow. I'm not sure I could fully explain it. Maybe somebody else can explain it, but maybe it's that, all the things that we do to each other hurt, and, you know, whether it's to the earth or to literally to each other.
Right, yeah.
Um, yeah. What else to say about that?
Yeah. Yeah, well, and it's like, well, okay, so, I mean, does it, I think the question to ask, like, does it take a big reset to fix some of this stuff? Maybe it is like, okay, we can't fix it, we have to destroy it. And I write in the sense that the
Right.
Nightwalker had to, you know, in the clearing of things, a lot of things are destroyed, and it may look like you went backwards.
Right, but yet it's a new beginning.
And yeah,
With the possibility to make better choices.
Yeah.
As you go along from that point. Yeah. Right, do we ever get that chance, I guess, is.
yeah, right. Or, you know, and the other one is like, just sometimes we have the chance, the opportunity, and we miss it, or we choose not to let it happen.
To take it,
Right?
yeah,
Yeah, I don't know.
or some want to take it and others don't see the need for it or ignore it, and there's not enough of either side to balance it out, I guess.
Mhm.
I suppose, you know, climate deniers versus, or climate change deniers versus people who really want to do something about it. And
Yeah,
it's one thing I think of. And then also that the people who think the climate is really changing try to do some man-made way to fix it.
right,
And
yes.
end up causing even more problems.
Right.
I don't know, that seems like part of the complexity maybe that feeds into this film a little
Yeah,
bit.
I think so. Well, and I think, yeah, I mean, to me, it's there's a nature thing, but it's almost to me how do people interact with different viewpoints and, you know, in trauma. Like, and I think, you know, Ashitaka's, I think the one, and maybe San, I think are the only
Yeah.
ones that are kind of more pure, at least in their, I mean, yeah, they've made mistakes, but at least you can tell that they're trying to be good. And you know, Ashitaka, I think, has, you know, a great shows patience and realizing, hey, I'm trying to friend San. If she's not reciprocating, like, don't take it personally, like, there's just a lot of stuff there, right? And he still continues to, you know, he keeps his distance and not like trying to prod, but he still like follows him, you know, right? And then saves the wolves later. I think that's kind of, it's a very, I think, another a good lesson to learn is when you're trying to say sorry or repent or atone to someone you've hurt, or, you know, someone, or trying to atone for someone else, that like it takes them time.
Right. It doesn't necessarily happen immediately. Sometimes it takes some processing and some building of trust and time. It takes time for all of that to happen. Yeah, and they do, both of them seem like they are trying to keep the peace, you know, trying to keep the war from, they'd like to keep the war from happening, maybe.
Right. Yeah, and San is, and rightfully so, is a little less patient about it, again, because she's just fed up with everyone. And Ashitaka is kind of that, like, he's still kind of learning. He's like, why can't we all he's one of those, why can't we all just get along? It doesn't have to be like this. I was kind of not hoping, but thinking that his scar and the kind of possession of his arm would lead more towards him thinking or doing worse things. Like I
Yeah.
felt like he very much had control of it. I mean, even though when he didn't have control of it physically, he had control over it, like mentally, or knowing that, hey, what's happening with it isn't right. And I was thinking it would cause more damage to either him or to others. And I think
Right, there wasn't really an escalation of that so much.
right.
The only time I remember it coming out, unless I missed something by not seeing the very end of it, was when shoot, hold on. Let me find the names again. When San was fighting Lady Eboshi. When they were battling, and that was when you see the kind of the tentacle like wormy things come up and envelop both of those two women. And I mean, it doesn't obviously kill them or anything, but it does still look like he's in control of it at that point.
Yeah.
But he lets that happen. He lets his anger, the whole time he's saying, this is what happens when anger and hatred starts to take control.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
Yeah.
And this is killing me.
Yeah, he's very aware of what's happening.
Yeah. So at the end, does he still have that wound?
That's interesting. I thought he did, but the Wikipedia page said it did clear the curse. So I
did. Okay,
So-
interesting. Because when the forest spirit brings him back to life, he's surprised that the gunshot wound is healed, but yet the curse remains on his arm.
Yeah.
So it wasn't healed at that point.
Right.
Huh.
Yeah, I wasn't healed
Until the very end. Huh. Yeah, I really need to go back and watch the end.
Yeah. Yeah, his movies, they're all very, kind of complex like that. And there's characters have different sides to them. You can't always tell if, and I think that goes back, I don't know if that goes back to that, or if that's more of the Japanese culture of they're more aware and in tune that everybody has different kind of sides to them, and it's more natural than kind of the American, or at least just on a cinematic level that we're used to. Okay, here's Mr. Spy versus Spy, right? That there's always the good one, and there's always a bad. No, Spy versus Spy did,
good and a definite bad character.
Right.
Yeah. The only, well, maybe not the only, but an example I can think of. Did you ever see the movie Crash?
Oh yes.
Yeah. It kind of has that same concept where the characters at the beginning that you think are the horrible, awful people, by the end, you see that they also have a good side that comes out, and that they do something to redeem themselves in your eyes by the end.
Yeah.
And the people that at the beginning you think, oh, this is the good guy, by the end, they've done something that's kind of tainted their whole
and I guess
thing.
and I think so that's a good point. And I think with this one, this one in Crash, it's kind of like here and then here and here and then here, and then in this film it's like and it's like, oh, are they good or are they bad? Like I can't,
Right, it's like, with Crash, it's like A plot, B plot, C plot, maybe some interplay between them, but this is like just a maze. A twisty, turny maze.
But it's I mean, there's a lot to I mean, again, you can always, I think, unpack it and what is it mean by this, and what's it mean by that. You know, yeah, what is his take on, you know, again, more about I think the strong one, you know, is, you know, the iron, and it's weird that this little ball of iron becomes, you know, this demon that.
Oh, right.
I think it's, I don't know, it's an interesting play that
That is an interesting.
it doesn't come up really too much later, but
Yeah, but that's what turns him into the demon. It turns the boar into this raging demon.
yeah, I mean, but it's and going back to Eboshi, like yeah, she's this very strong leader and, you know, and protector of people, but yet she's also just like very much what's the word I'm looking for? I'm bringing up Pocahontas. I'm sorry, the Disney film, but the guy who just wants to kind of take over everything, right? The main antagonist, right? Or the main antagonist in Tarzan, who right wants to shoot the apes or capture them, right? He has that very same thing with the gods. And it's like, you know, like someone she shoots one and says, "Oh, and you didn't kill it," and you know, she just nonchalantly says, "Yeah, it takes more than one shot, like she's done it before and 1,000 times."
And would do it again and again, and
yeah. So it's just as strong of positive characteristics she has. She also has, you know, these or what seems to me, you know, these negative.
to be negative character, right? Negative.
Right, and I don't know if he's
destructive
right
characteristics.
And again, is it a narrative speaking to like sexist culture and how permeated that is, that even women have an idea that this kind of hyper masculine feeling is the way to just be human, even when you kind of have these, you know, strong feministic qualities of the protector of people and
because it's like they're like she and the brothel women they're going about it in the same way that the men would go about it, just accommodating it for themselves,
right.
So that they can use it instead of making something more positive out of it, or you know, finding a better way, I guess. Yeah, that's an interesting thing to think about from her perspective, because it is almost like she is trying to equal the men, or you know, become equal,
right.
But that isn't necessarily better.
Right, exactly.
You know, it's still leading to the same exact thing, the same destruction, the same toxic.
And I think that's what she finds out in the end, and when she says she wants to build it back better. I think she's like, oh, like I tried building this town, this you know, iron town, the best way, and I knew that there were wrongs in these other places, and that's why I built it like this. But I realized that hey, even my thoughts to build this was wrong as well, and so now I know more about how
go about it.
Yeah.
There's some redemption in that.
Yeah.
It seems. Trying in a different way. Yeah.
Any other comments or questions or this part didn't make any sense
for the good of the cause.
Yeah. Well, another thing before we wrap up for those who are listening in, it's his type of films are all it's one of those like you can just mute it because it's very much kind of white actors, Hollywood actors, right? I mean, it's Billy Bob Thornton is a voice of someone, and Christian
Oh,
Bale is a voice in other films.
Oh, okay, okay.
And so it's, if that kind of annoys you, you can just mute it and have it go, because I mean, the animation is phenomenal. It's award-winning.
Does it have captions? Can you dub it with the captions?
Yeah,
And read it that way?
Yeah,
Maybe
yeah,
that's
or yeah,
the
you
better
can
way to
just,
go.
yeah, just dub it and just read the captions. Because yeah, it's just, I think all his films are just
Huh.
beautifully animated
Oh,
and
Right,
artistic.
the nature, the art of the animation of the nature was
Yeah.
fantastic in this.
In all of his films. I mean, I think this one, I think it was great, but I think his other films I've seen were even better.
What year was this one made?
I believe 97.
Okay, so that's even more impressive
And I'm gonna
for the
double check
technology
that
that
just
was
for-
around at that time.
Yeah. Yeah, 97. So yeah.
Yeah, Interesting.
His other films are good. The thing I forgot or what didn't realize when I set this up was you can't stream it. You have to buy the movie. I don't know where were you?
HBO Max.
Yeah, if you have
Yeah,
HBO Max, I
Max.
think is
Yeah.
the best way to
I was
do
able
it.
to watch it free.
Yeah.
There.
Yeah. That's, I think, this is the cheapest way. I think the other places you just had to buy it. Like you couldn't just, rent it for $4.
Right, it was like
Just because
$11.99
it's-
or something to buy
Yeah,
it, yeah.
Yep.
Everywhere else, HBO Max, I think, was the only place that I saw that it was free to stream. Yeah, YouTube from $11.99, Google Play from $11.99, Apple TV from $11.99, Amazon Prime $11.99.
Yeah.
Prime.
So I apologize for people thinking,
Oh,
wanting to
this is
watch it and then not
Netflix.
having to download it. It's on Netflix in other countries. Yeah, you click on it and it's,
Okay. Bummer. Yeah, I think it's just HBO Max, which we fortunately have free because it came with our AT&T.
oh, right,
Bundle.
right. Yeah, we
So-
did the, I think we had it for a while. And then I think we just did the free version, and then once my free trial went up, we
don't have it anymore.
quit. All right, so that wraps up this month. Next month, we are reading the book The Brilliant Abyss by Helen Scales. And it's about kind of the deep waters, the deep black oceans and kind of how even climate change has started to affect that, even though you'd think it's so far down, it's way,
It's unreachable.
it's still,
you think.
and I think it touches on it, but I think it's more about bringing to light the brilliance of it. Everyone kind of thinks it's just this dim, cold thing, so
Mhm.
I can't remember how much it talks about ecology and global warming, but I think it's more on the positive side of here's what this place is, and less about here's how we're destroying it.
Hmm.
We're trying to
Well, that's refreshing.
we're trying to get into that. When I was putting this together, and I haven't read these, I looked them up and found lists and stuff, and I was hoping, and I tried to find ones that were more in either positively informative about just, hey, let's just learn about this, rather than figuring out how things are getting destroyed that we already know about. So there's some of that, and then I'm also trying to just or positive things of here's small things we can do, because I think it's starting to wear on some of us of like, yeah, it's
Right.
we're
It just seems
there's nothing really we
depressing.
can do about a lot of this because it's all corporation stuff. So
Yeah.
so that's the next book, The Brilliant Abyss. Check it out. think the library has it,
Okay.
but it's
I
rentable.
wonder if the Raven has it too.
Yes, I
Often they
tried.
will be able to get it for you.
I think when I was looking this one up, I had issues because it was like, I don't know if it's out yet. Like you can
Oh, okay.
stream it on, like, because I have a copy of it on Audible. Check the Raven, but I tried and it says it's not gonna be released until May.
Okay.
So I don't even
it's
know
like
if
a
the book has
pre-order.
been from the publisher yet.
I
So,
see.
I don't know if, again, I should have checked this
Hmm.
more clearly before I made the list. And probably put it a couple months later so that people get copies, but that's the next.
Well, so that's good
The
to
next
know that it may be available on Audible.
It
for
is on Audible,
streaming.
it is on Audible and on those several things.
Yeah.
I
okay.
am going to actually say, if you like audiobooks, I think it's called is it I See Me? Or if that's no, it's Libro.fm.
Okay.
I See Me is a bookstore run by people of color. But through Libro, you can choose, I think you can choose the Raven, you can choose like your home bookstore. And so when you buy audiobooks, you're actually buying it, I think, from that
Ooh,
store.
from your local bookseller.
And I think it's a
That's good.
subscription-based thing, similar to
Like an Audible.
Audible. It's the same price, like $16 a month, and you get the free ticket of one download, or you can buy. So I personally would recommend that, because then you can pick, an independent store or something, and not feed Jeff Bezos, because he's got enough stuff already.
He's got enough. Yes, agreed.
That's my.
The Raven would also agree.
The Raven also. Or just get the book. I found that like it's easier to listen to audiobooks, but then I'm like, oh, I want to copy that or highlight it, and I can't. I'm like,
Oh, right.
It's done, or I have to pause it and take a note, like I have to take notes anyway, so I can't, it's hard to do it when I'm in the car, because I hear something and then I can't write it down, and
That's a problem even with
It makes it a-
ebooks for me. I mean, you can technically highlight it, but like to do
but you
anything in
can't
a
flip
book
through
club.
multiple pages and,
Right, exactly. And it's hard to find your place, like in a physical book, you can say, turn to page 52, paragraph 3.
And there's not even
you got
pages
it.
in an audiobook, it's like, it's got a weird number at the bottom, and the pages don't match up,
Yeah, there you go.
but I do this.
Anyway,
Yeah, so that's what it is. The Brilliant Abyss next month, 6:30, Wednesday. The date would be
May something,
May 25th.
May 25th. Okay, sounds good.
Procure the book in any sustainable way you want, legally, please. And we'll see you next month.
Thank you, Matthew.